Security is being stepped up around Arizona ballot drop boxes after a number of incidents, including armed individuals showing up at polling locations in Maricopa County. The county sheriff gave an update on election security earlier this week.
It's absurd to think that any individual can't go to a vote box and drop their ballot, that you can't go to a polling site and not be harassed, that you can't cast your vote and at the conclusion see an election and have confidence that the outcomes are just. So we're going to fight and we're going to work and we're going to do everything necessary to keep people safe and to protect our community and the polling sites so that we can protect our democracy.
Let's bring in CBS News tech and politics reporter Musadiq Bidar to talk more about this. Musadiq, good to see you.
Good to see you, Vlad.
So the Arizona Secretary of State's office has referred 6 cases of voter intimidation to federal authorities as early voting is well underway in Arizona. What are the suspects accused of doing?
Yeah, well, early voting has been underway in Arizona for about 3 weeks. And so far, we have at least 6 cases of voter intimidation taking place at during this early voting period. What we are seeing reports of is voters are dropping off their ballots at ballot collection sites and they are being filmed, they're being followed and intimidated and harassed by vigilante groups who are claiming that they are there to protect the vote. One voter filed a report saying that he and his wife were filmed as they left their car, walked over to the ballot drop box, and they were filmed as they were walking back to their car. These groups took photos of their license plate numbers. It's worth mentioning that it is illegal to film within 75 feet of polling locations in Arizona. On Friday, there was another instance in Mesa, Arizona, where 2 armed individuals wearing tactical gear showed up at a polling site. They then left as authorities were on their way. But this is all very concerning for actual election security officials who are raising the alarm that you cannot be intimidating voters or harassing them as they are exercising their right to drop off their ballots early in Arizona.
So it's one thing to hold a press conference about it, but what are authorities actually doing?
Yeah, the sheriff in Phoenix said that he is going to step up security at polling locations and dedicate extra resources to this. Federal authorities are also looking into this. Earlier this week, Attorney General Merrick Garland was asked about these instances of voter intimidation in Arizona, and he vowed that the Department of Justice will make sure that no voter faces this kind of intimidation during this cycle. Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, who is also running for governor, she's the Democratic nominee for governor in Arizona, said that she'll continue to forward these reports that her office receives to federal authorities and law enforcement in Arizona. And also the Arizona Alliance for Retired Americans filed a lawsuit earlier this week against one of these vigilante groups, claiming that they should not be there, they should not be intimidating voters, and is asking a court for a restraining order. So we're waiting to see how that lawsuit develops throughout this week. But a lot of eyes on Arizona as voters are trying to drop off their ballots early and facing these kinds of threats and intimidation at the poll.
So describe the genesis of all of this, Musadiq.
Yeah, well, we've been living in this kind of environment for a long time. And a lot of this is because you have candidates in Arizona for governor, for secretary of state, who have been raising questions about the validity of the 2020 election. Former President Trump lost Arizona by about 10,000 points, 10,000 votes, and you have candidates like Kari Lake for governor and Mark Finchem for secretary of state who continue to falsely claim that there were improper votes cast in the 2020 election. Now, Kari Lake still will not say if she will accept the results of the 2022 election. She says she will accept it if she wins. That's a big if. And so you have individuals who are really believing in these conspiracy theories that voters are illegally dropping off ballots when the case is really Americans exercising their rights. In Arizona, as we mentioned, you can vote early, you can take that ballot to drop it off. But a lot of individuals believe that there are improper ballots being cast. And so you have vigilante groups showing up, watching and intimidating voters, making sure that they're not improperly casting ballots when it's not really their job to do that. There are other ways to sign up to be poll workers with either the state party or with campaigns, but showing up this way, election security officials are saying is not the way to do it, and it really deters Arizonans from voting.
And that's the last thing we do, because Americans don't show up to vote anywhere near as much as they should do compared to other democracies. Musadiq Bidar, thank you very much. Musadiq Bidar.
Thank you for having me.